But right now, I do have someone who is no stranger to our channel. He has been talking about these issues over the past a couple of months as we brought him in and out of our studios to actually talk about some of the issues that this particular episode in our life and history has actually brought up. And that's Jeremy Vearey, a stalwart, a struggle activist. He has dedicated most, if not all, of his life to making South Africa a better place for all of us. Jeremy, welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For agreeing to come on. Of course, I don't think that in a million years you would have thought that 31 years into democracy we would be talking about allegations of our police, of allegations leveled against the magistracy, allegations leveled against a whole range of people you would have thought would have the interests of the people of South Africa at heart. I don't think you ever thought that you'd be here today talking about that.
Yes, definitely. I didn't think so, but I think what is significant as a plus for our democracy is that something very historic has happened here. A lieutenant general in the South African police has acted honorably in the interest of victims linked to case dockets, to bring closure to those things. If one cuts out all the other stuff, he's acted like a true police officer, despite placing his reputation and placing his career on the line in the interest of justice for those victims and to protect those witnesses who are at great risk with cases not being finalized, and making sure that the integrity of the evidence collected is that. So, as a true police officer, he's acted beyond the call of duty in the service of the public as a whole, despite the systemic challenges that he faced internally with what happened if the allegations are proven true.
You have, of course, served the South African Police Service for many years. And on the back of so many allegations that were leveled against various people, you know what happened during the state capture inquiry as well. Are you surprised that it has taken General Mkhwanazi, after so many years, to stand up and say the things, of course, which still have to be tested, but to come forward boldly and courageously, you say, to actually say the things that it did? Are you surprised that it actually took so long, given the fact that some of these allegations were actually made quite a while ago?
I am not surprised, and the reason I am not, because I know General Mkhwanazi. The general is a person who systematically, he takes his time before he acts. From what I know about him, he makes sure that when he pulls that trigger, like in this case it was, that he knows he is able to substantiate what he says. And I bid him well for that, and I hope he is a shining example to me, to all other officers who will act with the courage of their conviction if they should come and testify in front of the Commission.
Knowing what you know, with all your insights into policing in South Africa, but also perhaps where some of the problems actually lie, the 147.9 million that has been allocated to this inquiry will mean nothing if that information can't really be unearthed. Now, as far as you know, are there systems within the policing services in particular that could still, so to speak, sabotage General Mkhwanazi. In other words, make it difficult, if not impossible, for him to be able to prove that which you say he actually knows, as has made sure that he understands well and waits for the right moment to unearth it.
If one look at the allegations made by General Mkhwanazi, it is clear he pointed to sabotage internally in his allegations around, for example, what happened to the case dockets being taken out of circulation for months, and an attempt, and we must still find the motive, to stall things for a time. So firstly, whether that was done with whatever motives have yet to be determined, but it ought to give an indication to the public of what is possible, and that is not abnormal. In corruption allegations I've investigated before, and where we've had convictions, particularly when it comes to stalling of investigations, you know, some of the things involve simply not taking a witness statement, or waiting 6 months for the report and frustrating the court to such an extent that they take a case of their own. Some of the allegation would involve taking a statement from the one witness twice, so that you have two pieces of paper on which they can contradict each other and therefore become unreliable at that process. So these smaller techniques are old practices in the South African police service, and it goes back long years. We can even go to how things were covered up under apartheid with police killings and those things. In order for those murders not to look like murders, there has to be subterfuge in the investigation. There has to be an attempt to defeat the ends of justice, the exclusion of certain evidence. So the South African Police Service is quite a practiced institution, given its history in such things happening. So yes, I hope it doesn't happen, but I know the competency and the skills exist, and the systemic drive in the system, if people act from a certain narrow agenda, still exists to do that. There are people who can do that in the South African police.
But can't some of those...
And in crime intelligence.
But can't some of those issues be addressed simply, or am I being naive here, by perhaps strengthening the administrative parts of policing and generally the administration of justice, computerizing, making sure that no one easily tampers, you know, with cases, docket management and the like?
Yes, it can limit it, it can mitigate against that particular risk. But remember, there are people behind it, and people can be corrupted, and people can serve certain agendas if manipulated. And despite how perfect your system is, it's what you feed into the system. And if you feed junk into the system, or things designed deliberately not to produce a result or an outcome, a just outcome, well, it depends on the people. And that's why the integrity of the people needs to be constantly examined and tested. You know, corruption is not something we must wait for an allegation against a person. It should be a normal thing in the South African police or the intelligence agencies that we constantly profile you from a counterintelligence perspective to see, you might not observe it, what risks might exist. You might be walking down the street as a police officer and be approached by somebody you don't know, and not understand how that very contact can be manipulated to compromise you. So there's a constant need, when we're dealing with the civil services on the front line of fighting crime, in the age of organized crime being what it is now, there's a constant need to be vigilant about the actors who run the system.
Before I let you go very quickly, I hear that there's a breaking story we're running where General Mkhwanazi has sued Paul Sullivan. Does that surprise you?
I am not surprised. I am not surprised in that, and I've listened to what what was said about General Mkhwanazi by Paul Sullivan. And I think it's about time that we don't remain silent about that. So I have great regard for what General Mkhwanazi is doing now.
Vearey, let me thank you very much for your time.